what is just kind of the mindset of the group and just the feel coming into this matchup today?
I think it feels good to be in some Southern California weather. Being back here is obviously it's going to be an intense series. A lot of crazy ball games, intense competition. I know these guys have been waiting to get a crack at us, and we're looking to play these guys as well.
Can a series like this provide somewhat of a mid-season spark per se?
I think so. If you look back at the last couple weeks playing the Yankees, the Mets, a couple times, obviously that kind of infused some energy, emotion into our club. And then obviously playing these guys within the division, it's going to do the same thing. So again, it probably will feel like a playoff game tonight.
There are obviously a lot of emotions in that series last year. How much do those things kind of linger going into like something like this in a new year in the middle of June? Like, still feel some of that?
I don't know. I thought last year ended pretty well for us. I think that we feel good about it, but we've all turned the page on that and know that this is a team that's really hungry. They're really it's a really talented ball club. They're going to fight to the end against us. They've been waiting for this series for redemption. So, but like I said yesterday, it's still one game, it's still one series, but it's going to be a lot of fun.
How much do you think? Because like the cores, a lot of these teams have been the same the last 3 or 4 years. You guys have met in the playoffs a lot. Like, how much does that just kind of add to like what's always been, an intra-division matchup? But does it kind of give it a different feel, especially in another year where you guys are both competing for the division?
I think so. Yeah, I think the familiarity of the core from both sides, for the most part, remaining intact adds to the flavor, the history. And I think the familiarity, I think that the fans certainly can relate to the same players, playing against one another. The players can kind of look across the diamond and see familiar faces that have kind of been through this, this rivalry or whatever you want to call it. So I certainly think that it adds to the flavor of the series. Yeah.
Do you consider it like a rivalry?
I think it's become a rivalry because the stakes have been higher, which we've seen in the last few years.
It's strange to have gone so long with not seeing San Diego again. 7 out of the next 10 games are against them.
Yeah, it's the scheduling, and thank goodness I don't have to deal with it. But it's really interesting how it's playing out as such. But we're going to get very familiar with these guys here in the next week.
Have you and Manny talked about what happened last year in the DS?
No, I haven't talked to him. I'm sure we'll chat a little bit, but there's a mutual respect. Like I said last year, it's gamesmanship. We're doing what we can to help our clubs win, but the love and respect, nothing's changed with that.
10 in a row against the Giants and Padres. Do you set a goal in your mind, a target? Want to come out of this still in first place? Want to win this, this 10? How do you?
No, not really. I think that knowing that we're going to be facing some really good opponents, playing some pretty good baseball, try and win as many as we can. I think the goal is certainly to come out of this in first place. We can control that, but win as many as we can.
What do you think about this environment for Dustin? He's been emotional the last couple of starts. Do you feel like that can work in his favor, or do you think it can work against him with the emotion in the stadium?
Yeah, I think it's going to be very animated tonight, the next few nights. I think with Dustin in particular, I think he's just going to have to manage his emotions because he hasn't been in this kind of environment in quite some time. It'll be interesting to see, but he's pitched here before, and he's pitched well. So it's going to be interesting to see how he manages it.
When you look at these next 10 games, like obviously if it goes well, you can be a few games up in the division. If not, you can be a few games behind. Like obviously there's a lot of baseball after this, but how significant is that if you have a little bit of breathing room versus have ground to make up as you kind of get into like the second half of the year?
Well, I don't think that either way is going to really impact the rest of the year. Again, we see these guys next week too, so I think it'll be more clear after we see these guys for that 4-game series at home. But I do think it's going to be fun to play against these guys. But I think, honestly, I think right now in June it's just a little too early.
It's a special series for the Latino community. A lot of fans for both teams, two big fan bases. What's the message for those Latinos that are struggling now in California, especially in LA?
Yeah, that's a whole deeper question. I just hope that we can be a positive distraction for what people are going through in Los Angeles right now. Yeah.
Muncy had said that sometimes the Padres players, they play in a style to get under the skin of their opponent. Do you get that same sense about them, and do you guys try to do the same thing back?
I do. I think that they play a kind of a rugged kind of, grassroots. Like I said last year, it's a street fight, and I think that's a good mindset. And then I think that they take to that. It kind of feeds their fuel, edge. And so you've got to be able to match that kind of mindset when you play these guys.
Edge was a key word of just the postseason last year for you guys, and wanting to see a little bit more of that. Do you feel like you've seen that from this group this year? And how could a series, if you haven't, how could a series like this kind of start to build that up for you all?
I think at times we've seen that. Certainly with this group, we've seen it when we've needed to see it. This will be a good kind of test as far as kind of the psyche, how we come in to kind of match their intensity. But I know that we have that in our guys, but it isn't something, it's hard to sustain it for 162, but I still like the way we're playing.
So you were reluctant to call it a rivalry a few years back. Has it come now?
I think it has. I just have a hard time believing something can be a rivalry when there's no stakes. And I think that with the talent that they've accrued and the way they played over the last few years, that the stakes have gotten higher, and that's a compliment to the organization, to those guys, and yeah, I can see that now.